Hey guys, it's John again. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a background for video games in GIMP. Now the background we're going to be creating today will be mainly sky, so we're going to have to include lots of objects that you'd see in the sky, like planets and stars, and we're also going to have some mountains at the bottom so we have perspective. So you're going to create a new image in GIMP. Make sure the width is 400 and the height 3150. Now this is optional, but I'm going to go to Advanced Options and change the resolution, which is normally 70, to 100 so that the image is crisper, more clean, and looks better for viewing. So now that I've created my image, I'm going to maximize the window, and what you can do now is you can either create your own gradient, and basically it's really easy. If you look at the pictures here, you have rainbow, for example, which is just a bunch of different colors with the gradient creator, and there's also, for example, a skyline, which would actually work for this tutorial, but I'm not going to use that. Instead, I'm going to create my own. So I'm going to do it the easy way and go and select my color for the bottom. Now we want the sky to be lighter blue to a dark, almost purplish black for space. However, because you cannot show the transition between light blue to dark blue and then to purple and black unless you create your own gradient, I'm going to do it in chunks and basically layer on different opacities of the gradient. So now that I have a light blue selected, I'm going to select a deeper dark blue that will be used to show the middle of the background that we'll be creating today. So make sure your gradient is on F2 to transparent, and now simply just click and drag, and then click and drag again. And you can also make it F2 to background and do the same effect. Either way, whatever you like. And now that you've established this, you're going to, you can see the subtle change in the hue. You're going to go and create a darker background, so simply go near purple, select a dark background, and then select an even darker, almost black background. And now I'm going to layer on more. Basically what I want to do here is just have a very subtle change in the hue. Select your darker color, add an even darker change to the hue. Now you can see we have the light blue, medium blue, purple, and then almost black. So this is our main background. Now what we want to do is add details to this. So the actual viewing of the background will be at 100%, and this is what the background will actually look like when you're playing the game or viewing the background in the game. So this is the detail perspective wise. So I'm going to start by creating some hills. Basically just create a new layer, make sure it's on transparent. Then take your paths tool and click, and then just drag, and then create your own sort of like an arch that will be the hill. And select your color. I'm going to select green, and make sure the green isn't too fake looking, because if you notice, the top of the spectrum for color is all fake colors. It's all the artificial, all the neon colors, so you need to stay away from everything at the top unless you're making a logo or something that is supposed to stand out. And the bottom ones are the desaturated ones. So that's for like washed pictures and almost black and white photos. So the colors you want to look is near the middle and a little bit up. And that's the main color for the natural look of the world. And now that we have this color selected, create a gradient. I'm just going to start with the dark colors going to lighter. So I'm going to make this a little bit darker so you can see it better. And now that we have that done, I'm going to make another hill. What you want to do is make another layer and put this behind the hill so you have a background being shown. Just click and drag with this as well. It's really whatever you want to do, just pick with your eye. And then we're going to create another gradient. And there you can see the hill is clearly defined. Okay, now that we have that done, I'm going to add, some mountains. So we have more scenery. It's going to create another layer and make sure this is behind the hills because you want it to be layering on like your field of depth and your perception. So I'm going to be using the path tool again and basically just make triangles. And once you've done that, I'm going to fill it in with not a pure white because that would be too bright, but a darker white, gray color. Then that you've done that, you take the path tool again, and now you want to create shadow and the black. So our light source is going to be coming from the top left corner of the screen, so our shadows will be on bottom right. And you can do this with the tablet. I have a tablet, but not everyone does. So basically, just click and drag just where you'd want the shadows to occur, and just do this up and down your mountain. It's all by eye, remember, so whatever you want. And then now that you've created your shadow, I'm going to block it in the black color so you can see it. And that would be if you want just a really dark black, but if you want to go more detailed, all you have to do is simply, I'm going to block it in just so everyone can see where it is, and then alpha to selection, Control I, which is inverse, which you can also do by selecting inverse. And I'm just going to delete the others so we know where the shadow will be. And then alpha to selection again. I'm going to create a new layer, make that layer disappear, then simply drag the gradient tool, make sure it's on the color of your shadow and F2 to transparent, and just drag it down from the mountain so you can see the individual shadow. Once that I've done that, let's see. Oh, whoops, I've appeared to mess up. Okay, there, much better. Then you can also create a few other ones. I mean, it's up to you what you want to do with it. Just for some detail, let's create a sort of rock coming up from the mountain. Okay. I'm going to position the rock. Actually, yeah. I'm going to redo this. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to quickly create another mountain. Make sure that your layer is behind the hills in the previous mountain, perspective-wise. And then, now that I've created that, simply create another triangle. Don't make it the same height, because that would ruin the realistic factor of making this. Then fill it with the same color, and then just repeat the step that was made for the previous mountain. Locking it in, deleting everything else so I know where to place the gradients, and then take this layer away. Then, like before, just add a nice subtle shadow up the side of the mountain. Okay. There you have it. This is what it looks like so far. Remember, when we're going to be playing the game, it'll be zoomed in at 100% and will look like this. Okay. Now, continue. Let's see. Let's add a weather balloon. Why not? I'm going to make sure your aspect ratio is fixed, and I'm going to make it 1 by 1 so you have a perfect circle. And let's see, I'll position it right here. We'll do fine. Then we want this to be on top of the mountains, so I'll make a new layer on top. I'm going to color it red, so select a bright red color and then a much darker red color. Then make sure you have a solid, you don't want it to be on translucent and transparent and radial, so you have a circle effect. Now this will be the head of the balloon. Then I just have to make the cage and the ropes. So for the ropes, holding it, I'm just going to quickly, using the path tool. Actually, you know what? First, I'm going to make the cage for the people to be in. So just create a box, and I'm going to give it rounded corners. Okay, and then select a brown color, almost as a wooden cage. Make sure you're in the natural part of the color, otherwise it'll look unrealistic. Create a new layer. Okay. Oops, I forgot to change the settings. Okay. There you go. And then, now that I have the box positioned underneath, just going to create a new layer, and then very quickly use the path tool to create rope. And I'm just going to use this to make cylinders or moved rectangles of black. And just fill it in like that. Okay, so here we have our balloon lifting off, and I'm just going to really quickly create the effect of a fire propelling it. And this is very easy to do. Just create a new layer, make sure that it's underneath the underneath everything, so it seems like it's coming from the cage and heating balloon. So go to a really bright orangish yellowish color and change the settings to FG transparent, create a radial, and then just sort of like make a light source. And there you have it. Now I'm going to continue going up. I'm going to just create a couple birds in the sky for more real life representation. And I'm going to use my tablet for this to draw really quickly. That doesn't matter. It'd be easy to do it the other way, probably. Okay, now the tablet is working. Select a round brush. Make sure the size is down. Create a new layer. And just draw little M's in the sky. Now that you've done that, I'm going to duplicate the layer and go to Filters, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and really quickly just add a darker line to it. So 2-point blur should do it. Yep. Now that I have the 2 points, I'm going to change the opacities of these. And I appear to have messed up on one of them, so I'm just going to erase that really quickly. There we go. So we're missing clouds, and this will be tricky because I haven't done this beforehand. This is all right now as I'm talking, so we'll see how this goes. But continuing with the current style, which is lots of blocky shapes, I'm just going to make a ovally type of shape. So something like that would work. Create a new layer, and then select a like the mountain, white. Fill it. Then I'm just going to add little circles to it to sort of build onto the puffiness of the cloud. Let's see. I want the bigger poofy part of the cloud on top. I'm just going to add like a little bit to make it change on the bottom. Okay. And now adding this shadow will be the slightly tricky part. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to see if I can cheat it. Go to script foo, inner shadow, and negative 40. Change the size. Let's mess around with the settings. Okay, that did not work. I'm gonna go back to script foo, redo the layer. Okay. As you can see, that sort of worked. It's not really what I'm looking for. So I'm going to keep that so I have the outline and just move the opacity down so it's still visible, but barely visible. And then I'm just going to go in by myself and create my own shadows. Basically just use this doing the FGD transparent tool, having a dark color, make sure it's on linear, make a new layer, and then actually you can put it on radial for now. Yeah. And then just sort of lightly add a sort of depth to it. Okay. So that sort of works. So we'll see how it works in the other one. So I'm going to create 2 layers. There we go. Then take the smudge tool, merge these together, and sort of smudge and blur these shadows together. And then going to finish this off by placing a small circle right here, more of an oval shape actually. Merging that down and smudging that as well. Mess the opacities. And going to take out some of this using a brush on low opacity and the hardness is down. There you go, you have a cloud. Now, let's see. Going to add one more cloud and then show you how to make stars and then later on planets and moon. I'll just add the moon. I'm not going to make any space dust or galaxies just now. I might add that in later in a different tutorial. So I will explain why that wasn't working earlier is because I was using the wrong color. Let's add one more. Okay, and then smudge these all together, the other ones. Lower the opacity. And I'm just going to erase some of this one. And so there we go. Have another cloud. So, going to save this really quickly. Make sure you're constantly saving stuff while you're working, because I've had times where I've worked on things for hours and then I've just lost it. So, create a new folder. I'm going to title this background 1, because I might add multiple backgrounds and levels later on. And then add stars. What's I'm recording and voice. I know I was making tons of noise. Anyways. Yeah. What's up? You need a shave. Yep. Tons of fun. Okay, so yeah, if I'm talking to myself, just like ignore me because I can. I'm not sure if I will edit that out actually. Yeah. Okay. So creating stars. Going to select a 1 pixel brush. Now you can do it with more. Actually, you know, let's go with a 2 pixel brush. Okay, that way we have bigger and better stars. So create a new layer. Just place a bunch of dots randomly because stars are random. Just place them all in different parts. And make sure you have ones of different size too. You don't want them all of one size. So I'm going to place a bunch of ones all over the place. Yeah, I'm trying not to sound so excited, Garrett. Thanks. Okay. You're going to duplicate that layer. Filters, blur, Gaussian blur. Put it on 4 pixels should do it. Yeah. Okay, and as you can see, it's almost there. We're going to duplicate the layer again and blur it one more time. This time out of 5. Okay. Here we have a bunch of stars. Now the moon. This will be the ending point of the game. So, get your circle tool. I'm going to go with a fixed aspect ratio just so it's perfectly lined up. And see. That looks good. Going to fill it with a gray color, light gray. Actually, a little bit lighter. Okay, now create the craters. So I'm just going to select the circle tool and create a new layer first. Radial, should have a dark color, and then just make a bunch of circles. You're going to be making multiple circles, so don't just make a few. I have a bunch of circles, alpha to selection on the base. I'm just going to quickly throw in some effects, and it's going to try to give it more depth. So the shadow coming from the top of the page. And then I'm going to put a script through layer effects, add an inner shadow, and just do this on the very bottom. So, oops, did not want to do that. Change the opacity, merge all the layers down, and then my smudge, have it on a soft brush, then just sort of mess around. Actually, I'm going to change it to blur, and just blur the edges so everything blends. Okay, then delete some of the shadow at the top, just because I don't like it there, on the sides. And also really quickly add some shadows like I did with the mountain. So, oops, make a black spot, alpha to selection, Control I, continue doing that with a couple other ones. And then just add one big, gigantic shadow. Actually, let's cut this part out. So, alpha to selection, Control I, actually, no, forget that. Let's just leave it as it is. Throw some shadow on really quickly.